Welcome to Despite Popular Belief, where we discuss Reformed biblical theology in a culture full of opinions and agendas. I'm Stephen Lauterbach, and today is episode 81, Mothaltar, with Aaron Ashcroft. This is a Christian metal band. The guy we're interviewing today, this is their drummer. Awesome dude. Let's get into this thing. Guys, I got a really special guest for you today. This is an up-and-coming Christian metal band, or at least they're gaining lots of momentum lately. They've shared the stage with Facedown Records bands like Bloodlines. I've talked to you guys about them a lot. I love Bloodlines. Mothaltar is heavy. Why are we getting Christian metal on the show? Well, if you're a long-time listener, you know that I love Christian metal. You can tell from my shirt. OGs will know who this band is just by that little glimpse of the shirt. Anyways, if you're new to the show, I just wanted to bring people from our Christian community, other content creators. Maybe metal's not your forte. That's fine. This is somebody who's excelling at their craft and glorifying God by doing it. So I wanted to pick his brain. He's such a cool guy. I say everybody's cool. We get to meet so many cool people on this show. But he also has other projects besides Mothaltar, and he'll explain where that name comes from. It is super cool. It's biblical, by the way. And he's got another project called Whom I Serve. So we're actually going to play just a short clip of one of those tracks right now. Okay, that was the song Divine Transmission by one of Aaron's side projects, Whom I Serve. He's also, of course, from Mothaltar, which many of you might be here to just hear about him, hear the interview. So actually, this interlude clip here that's going to bring us into the interview, this is going to be Mothaltar. So you're going to get a chance to hear what he sounds like on the drums as we go into this. So let's kick this thing off. Here we go. Everybody, we've got such a cool show for you guys today. I have a very special guest. His name is Aaron Ashcroft, and he is the drummer. He is a killer drummer for Mothaltar, which is a great metal band. So very happy to have Aaron here with us today. Aaron, welcome to Despite Popular Belief.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So everybody makes fun of me because I find all my guests on Instagram, but Instagram is actually how I found Mothaltar, and I know you guys are on Spotify and a bunch of platforms, so before we get ahead of ourselves, can you give us a little background on yourself, maybe how you got into drums, how you got into metal, just in general?
Yeah, so I became a metalhead right out of elementary school. I got an iPod Touch, had no idea what to do with it. I just got it because my sister got one, and I got Christmas money. I was like, I'm going to buy one. Going to one-up her. And I wasn't I was into very early Air One radio kind of stuff. So Newsboys, I can't even remember all the bands. Switchfoot, I listened to people like that.
Sure.
And then I heard someone told me about Skillet. I think it was my mom, actually, funny enough. And so that was right when Awake released. And so I listened to that and then a bunch of their other back catalog. And then it was just a spiral down from there. I then got into Red, 1,000 Foot Crutch. Kind of stayed in that area, and then the next level for me was Love and Death. Dude, their debut album, just I love it so much. I've listened to it thousands of hours at this point by now. And then for the next leap from there was Memphis May Fire.
Oh yeah,
and that was my first metalcore band. Very chorus driven, and because it was very much more rock oriented on the metalcore side. I loved that. I wasn't huge into the screaming yet. It took me another couple years, and it was like Fit for a King. And after that, just the lines kind of blurred. Demon Hunter before Fit for a King. They really got me into the whole screaming aspect of metal. And now I'm just listening to, really weird stuff. Like I made a playlist the other day of just like the heaviest stuff that I listened to, like Impending Doom, Lorna Shore, and Brand of Sacrifice. I titled it, "What Would My Grandma Think?" So, yeah, I'm in the I spiraled hugely from the Skillet.
Dude, we have to see this playlist. We have to see this playlist.
It's funny. Like I got Lorna Shore up there first just to scare everyone away. Like it's a jamming playlist. I love it.
That's awesome, man. So you played drums. When did you start playing drums? How'd you get into that?
I just, after a while of listening to music, I wanted to have a personal, like physical connection to the music, which was weird. At like 13 years old is when like I just had an urge. It was actually when Rise by Skillet came out. So like I'm a huge Panhead. Like even to this day, I'll jam Skillet still. And it was right after that album came out, I was like, I want to learn something. And my first instinct was to go to bass because that's what John Cooper played. And, John Cooper was cool. Sure. And then like I got more into the band. And I was like, oh, I think I like Jen Ledger more because, Jen Ledger. And so the reason I got into drumming was because I had this like hope as a child, as a 13-year-old kid, that I would become a world famous drummer, go on tour with Skillet, and Jen Ledger would fall in love with me.
That's awesome, man.
13-year-old me was just the worst.
No, that's actually a really cool story. And recently, John Cooper's really stepping up. You've seen him preach from the stage now. I know that he was always like a strong Christian on the road. And like, of course, his content has been like that. But like lately, man, he's just preaching fire from the stage. It's really cool stuff. But interesting progression for the drums. I'm trying to think I don't even know if I had any influences. Like when I started playing guitar, Number One Gun was like the first, like, I guess you would call it like, is it like pop punk maybe? But
that's what I've heard a couple from them. I roll with that.
Yeah. So that was like my step out of the Newsboys, DC Talk, and all that stuff growing up. I got into Number One Gun, and that kind of went into like Falling Up. Falling Up was the thing for a while, and then 12 Stones. 12 Stones, classic. Dude, the guitar harmony, like when you're a kid and you're learning an instrument, like that stuff's cool. And what was it? It was some late night TV. It was like Christian music videos. It's called The Battery. I think it was called A Battery. Yeah. Anyways, I saw As Cities Burn, Bloodsucker Part 2 music video, followed by As I Lay Dying, Darkest Night. And like,
yes, As I Lay Dying.
Oh, dude, those two music videos back to back changed my life because I was like, this is interesting. I want to learn how to play like that. But interesting that you wanted to chase the drummer of Skillet. That's funny. It's cool, man. So you start. I assume you start playing in bands. How did you end up in Mothaltar? Are you like a founding member, or was that somebody that you joined and was already established?
So interesting fact: Mothaltar is the second version of this band. We've started out as Forerunner. I joined about half a year after they started. Return was their first song, which is now one of our most popular songs. But it just started with Franco. He went to a producer, had the producer make him a song styled after Invent Anime. I think you can really tell with that song.
Oh yeah.
And then he used that as a platform to find new musicians to start actually building a band, which is really backwards thinking, which I worked obviously with me. You say you found, find a bunch of bands and people through Instagram. Well, I found Forerunner through Instagram. They had a Instagram ad for just finding members, and I found out they were Christian. They're, Return. I loved the song because that's all they had out at the time. And I reached out to him, was like, hey, I'm a drummer, and I was doing Instagram covers at this point. I had probably 20 or so at this point on my electronic kit, and I just sent them I just DM'd them all of my stuff, just one after another. Blew up Franco's phone. I know he was probably really annoyed with me, but it didn't work because they're from Texas and I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Dallas Fort Worth, more accurately, is where they're from. Yeah. And so and I was not even 21 at that point. I'm 22 now. I was, I think, just about to turn 21. And this was back in 2020, March-ish, somewhere around there. I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, we didn't end up going with me because of the distance and the age, and he was looking for someone closer. And about 3 or 4 months later, I was like, hey, man, are you still interested in joining a band? So when I was like, maybe, what's your offer? I'm thinking of signing deal. No, that didn't happen. Of course not now. Just kind of took it from there. Sojourn, which is now one of our, we only have 6 songs technically. So
sure.
5 songs actually. So all of our songs, are the most popular out of the, top 10. So
sure.
Sojourner was kind of my audition for the band, and then that got sent to the guitarist at the time, Tim, and then it just kind of went from there. Just after that, I became a full-fledged member, started writing drums, and so then after that guitarist left, we decided to rebrand to Mothaltar, which is because if you look up Forerunner, just on Google, thousands of things pop up, and then worse, if you look up Forerunner band, hundreds of things pop up before you even come across us, which, at the time it made sense because we were so small, but then we were still getting a lot of streams on Spotify, but it was hurting our Spotify page because you would have to dig through a bunch of other Forerunners just to get to us. And now if you look at Mothaltar, we're the only one that pops up. So branding was, we lucked out on that one. We did a lot of research on that.
Yeah, branding's critical. I got some friends that do branding for a living, and yes, the name has to stand out. Yeah. Mothaltar is very unique. Where the heck did you get that name from? What is Mothaltar?
So we were digging around, just trying to find something interesting. Something two maximum of 2 words, and we kind of wanted to throw it together, kind of make it all blend into one word, kind of like what we ended up doing. But it was originally we were our former guitarist, not our former, but just former guitarist, Kelby. He was wanting to start a band called Mark of the Hollowed. Super dope name, but we didn't want to have so many letters and words in it because each letter is a couple cents on a t-shirt. You print that a couple hundred times, it racks up really quickly. And so we want to keep around with the moth idea from the passage in Matthew about putting our past selves, our possessions on an altar to be eaten away by moths. That's basically that's exactly where that comes from. And so we spent a week deliberating on it. It was a rough week. It was crazy. Just all the different ideas. We almost settled for Lotus Tongue. We were almost there, and then we switched to Mothaltar. Can't remember. I think that was just the most popular. I think it was 3-1 or something like. I can't remember what it was, but we were almost Lotus Tongue, which is another. It's not as easily image related because
sure,
moth, pretty easy, you could just put a moth up, but what does a lotus tongue look like?
Right.
And that's not something I feel comfortable Googling.
Oh, you're hilarious. I love that name. That is so cool. Mothaltar, and you got the scripture reference there. That is so cool. Wow. Okay, I'm thinking about that. I can visualize it now. And your branding is great. I mean, I'm thinking of the album cover right now. You could do so many things with moth.
Exactly.
So you guys live states apart. How do you write? How do you practice? And then what does it look like to do live performance?
It is a lot of on your own. for performance wise. I have to get a lot of hours behind the kit so that whenever we do meet into the same room and practice, that it goes as smoothly as possible, that I'm not forgetting parts all of a sudden or switching, remixing the song basically on the fly, that we're doing exactly the structure in the recording. That's the most vital part, especially as a drummer. Like I can kind of fluff things here and there to make it just a little bit different. No one's ever going to notice, not as much as like a guitarist, so to speak. Like you throw in a little bit extra things and the people will notice, but on drums, it's a lot easier because they're just kind of like feeling it, vibing with it. So like I just really got to nail the structure, and like most of what I'm doing, spending at least 4 hours a week on that, and then meet in the room. Hopefully it goes good, and at that point we're just trying to nail down timing and everyone in sync with each other. And writing's a whole different story because I have yet to write a song with another person in the room or track drums with another person in the room. Isaiah, our main guitarist, he's all the way in North Carolina. So we're doing everything basically cloud-based. We have a whole Google folder dedicated to the band that's just, 11 gigabytes of stuff. And that goes from band pictures to video stuff and just everything. So Isaiah would put a drumless file in the folder. I take the drumless, I write my stuff for it, send it back, get the critiques, redo parts, because I write all in MIDI, which is a huge blessing in this day and age, because I can not afford studio time, much less my own recording equipment. Because recording equipment's insane, man. It's crazy.
Yes, it is.
And so just, that's the beauty about MIDI, is that you can just go back, delete or add as needed. And then I just practice what I did to the best of my ability, because it's nice with MIDI because I can record, so to speak, higher than what I can play right now.
Sure.
And then I can work up to it. Instead of me being at, studio level, I can just join it like, maybe live performance level, and then work my way up to being able to play at studio level.
That's awesome. Yeah, back when I used to play when I was younger, we did MIDI as well. We used Guitar Pro 5.
Nice.
I think it was Guitar Pro 5, and I'll tell you, the MIDI mapping for drums on that is, I miss it. It was the best. It was the best. I can't find an interface that's comfortable like that anymore. But that's really cool that people are still doing MIDI for that, because it just makes sense. I mean, when you've got softwares like Steven Slate or Get Good Drums, I mean, the list goes on. There's so many really great producers that put out amazing samples. You're still writing the song, and then you're still going to perform it live. So, I don't know. People used to say that's cheating. I think people have fully accepted it at this point. It's the way to go, especially if you're across states, for goodness sake.
Absolutely. And fun fact, my guitarist, other guitarist, Kevin, brings this up every day whenever we talk about anything MIDI, and that August Burns Red, they started out writing everything MIDI. And then they worked up to the point where they can play it, which is exactly what I'm doing. He brings that up every time. I'm like, I don't know if I could do this part. He's like, well, let me tell you about August Burns Red every single time. And he always guilt trips me into it. Like, okay, you're right, I'll write it.
That's really funny. So I've seen a couple of your bills of bands that you're playing with. Can you share with us some of the bands that you've shared the stage with? I mean, there's some big names on there.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. Our first show, which was November, was with Bloodlines, and I've been a fan of Bloodlines since like right when the pandemic hit. Yeah, Kingdom Core released just like a little 30-second snippet, and it was the breakdown of them just going Jesus Christ, and then the just crazy breakdown with all the whammy bars and dissonant chords. I was like, oh, I like that. I'm going to listen to them. And I've listened to them ever since. And being able to play a show with them was just phenomenal. It was, as our first show, too. Wow. It just felt really cool. And now we got a show coming up May 15th down in Texas again with Spirit Breaker and Lightworker, which is awesome because those are two really cool up-and-coming solid-state bands. Yeah. And here we are, just a little band with no more than a couple of we haven't even hit 2,000 followers yet, and we're playing bands. We're playing with solid-state bands. That's just blown us away. And also Facedown bands, because Bloodlines is a Facedown band. That's just crazy to us. We're blown away by how we've been welcomed into the scene this early in. Like, we just passed a year 2 weeks ago as a band since Prologue released.
Well, you guys are very talented. There's no doubt about that. It's exciting to see you being able to share the stage with people like that, because man, I love Bloodlines. I love Facedown Records. Solid State's amazing. That's got to be a lot of fun. Do you have any stories from doing shows with the band? Any funny stories, or maybe things that impacted you dramatically? I know it's a wide range of a question.
Yeah. I'd say, so my first ever show was the show back in November. Like, I've done worship sets since I was 14, 15, but that was my first time actually playing one of my songs live, and the whole thing was a learning experience. I'd say the funniest thing is that I went up on stage and like I had in-ear protection, but not like actual in-ears, and I forgot to tell the sound guy to turn on the monitor next to me, so I had to play the entire show pretty much naked, like audio wise. Like it was really brutal, but we did. I think we, for not having any, almost no audio, just what was at the front of house, I think I did pretty good. I was pretty happy with that. But that was definitely the funniest moment of the entire show. And then Kevin, guitarist, love him. He was just kind of like, he was antsy like for most of it, and like he was really comfortable too. But he was just kind of like, all right, can I just get up there and do it? And then so we just did it, and like it just, I'm excited for the show in May. So hopefully I'm more prepared than I was my first time around, which I still feel like I did really well. But now that I've had way more time with the songs and the new song coming out, that's going to be a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, what does the future look like for Mothaltar? Like, what is, at least for short term, what are you guys shooting for? What's next?
So right now we have this new single, Original Vision. Super dark. It's a just dark sounding song. We have basically a whole orchestra in there behind us that we just riff along, and we have a blast beat section, which is new for me. It's also the first song we ever played in 10. We play in 10/4 at one point for the whole midsection of the song, which is great to count. Thank you, Isaiah. I love you, buddy. I'm super proud of what we've done. And we're just going to keep continuing with the really dark sounding stuff, but still have that positive light at the end of the tunnel. Like Original Vision, it's all about the temptation of sin and falling into it, but realizing that through Jesus Christ, we can come out of that, and that He is the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. And that through Him, all things are possible, and that He can get us out of whatever dark situation we're in.
That's amazing. That's cool stuff, man. So you also have a couple of other projects that you're in. What else do you do besides Mothaltar?
So I just have really just another main project that I work on called Whom I Serve. I do that with Jared Esposito. He's a fantastic producer. So we self-produce all of our stuff, which is great when it comes to costs, because music production is insane, and I still write MIDI with that. With Whom I Serve, we have an EP and an album out right now. And we're hoping to finish up the next EP that's going to release in a couple months. Hopefully finish it up by the end of the month. Really, we're really close to it. All of the songs are past the demo stage, and now it's just kind of fine tweaking drum parts, making sure that the mixing's all nailed down. And yeah, we just released the first single off of it called Divine Transmission, which is a funny way of saying prayer. We kind of went into a more of a sci-fi theme with this. I think you could tell with like the strings, we're huge Starset nerds, so we kind of took a lot of inspiration from them, especially on just like the overall look of the song, especially the artwork. We have just a big satellite with Whom I Serve, Divine Transmission, all there. And the song's just about a prayer to God, like how we, funny how the subject matter is so closely related to Mothaltar. I don't write any of the lyrics. I'm not that poetic, but it's a prayer to God about how, we always fall into sin, and how it's just our nature to do that. And every time that we go back into it, we're losing a fight that we could have easily won with Christ. Yeah. If we just chose to have Him by our side, we would have been fine. But we fall back into the sin, whether it be lying, gossip, pornography, anything. Like, we always fall back into it if we don't have Christ right there with us, and that we're keeping our eyes set on Him.
Man, that's good stuff, dude. That's really cool. Of course, I'll put all of these sources in the show notes page for all the projects that Aaron is a part of. And before we wrap this up, you mentioned that you played... I assume you played music for church growing up. I mean, like, how old were you when you jumped into that?
So I first played the cajon, or box drum, as it's more accurately called in a church settings, because of translations and all that. I started right at 14, about maybe a couple months after I started playing the drums.
Sure.
It was actually just a couple of months. It was the summer after I picked it up, and so that was the first time, and that was in my youth group. We still had a drummer, so I was basically shadowing him, which was great because it allowed me to learn how to actually play as a band before I actually got behind the kit. So like I had like a internship almost.
Sure.
And then the current drummer left. I took his spot. We brought on the next drummer as the cajonist, as we called him. And it was just a cycle that still goes on to this day that I'm really happy about. And then I eventually graduated from playing youth group to main service, and have learned a lot since then, and have learned the value of playing with a click.
Oh, yeah.
Love clicks.
Yeah.
Best thing ever. There's a lot of people that say, oh, it's cheating. You should just know the BPM. No, you need that click. The click is amazing. And so I just went from doing that for so long to I've never really been able to play metal or rock live until Mothaltar.
Oh, wow. Okay. So are you still playing at churches now, or?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I miss doing that. I did a lot growing up, but I went away to college. I did my metal band for a couple of years, and then honestly, I started mixing live sound ever since then. So I kind of fell into doing that. I wonder if I've been mixing for more years than I've performed. I can't remember. The time is flying.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very important skill to have. If you don't have a good person who knows how to mix your room that you're in, whether it's like a sanctuary, like my church, we meet in a gym,
sure,
which it's I'm sure it's a pain. Like, we have the rubber floors instead of the hardwood, but still, I can't imagine how difficult that would be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. So did you grow up in the Christian faith, or is that something that came a little bit later for you?
Yeah, I've grown up in the church, just from birth. Basically, I was in the nursery, and then to kids' church, and then youth group, and so I've been in church for my 22 years of life. I didn't really come into my own faith until I went to a Christian college conference around, I think it was 2018-ish. And that's when I really felt the Lord saying, hey, you need to have a personal relationship with me, not just when you're at church. I was like, you're probably right. Yeah, I'm probably right. So that's when that's really taken off. And,
that's cool.
Always ups and downs. It's just, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I love God. I love everything about him. He's just so good. Even through my darkest times, knowing that he's there and that he has me is everything. Yeah. I definitely couldn't, be in these bands without him, knowing that if I was selfish and going to be in these bands, it just wouldn't work out. I'm way too hot-headed and opinionated to be in a band thinking that this is going to be about me and me alone, and they're just along for the ride. Also, I'm the drummer. I am at the mercy of these other instrumentalists. So knowing that this is bigger than me, that I'm not doing this for myself, but it's as a form of worship for God. Yeah, that's what keeps me going through all the band drama. In every band, there's drama. And
of course,
that's no different in mine.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. Wow, I mean, I think we covered a lot of ground. I know we're only scratching the surface about who Aaron is, but I think we're gonna have some goodies here at the end of the episode. I will cut to those after the fact because we got to work out some details. But Aaron, thank you so much for giving us your time and coming on the show and telling us about Mothaltar. And again, I'll put all of those links in the show notes page so everybody could find that. And then you got to tell us more about the Spotify playlist that's rocking your grandma.
It's actually Apple Music. I know I am a heathen. Oh. I apologize. That limits 25% of people that could maybe hear it. I have a Spotify account. I can throw it up there, I suppose. I can make that happen.
Okay. Awesome, Aaron. Well, thank you so much. And we'll catch you later.
Thank you for having me.
thank you for sticking with us. Mothaltar has a brand new song. It's out right now. It's called Original Vision, and they actually gave me a preview of that song before it came out, but I wasn't allowed to release it until release day because they wanted me to do a reaction video. So I'm going to put in the description of this video a link to that reaction video. You guys have to check this song out. It's awesome. You're going to love it. This is so good. But anyways, guys, thanks for sticking with us. Thank you for all the support. And if you need any show notes, all the links to everything that we talked about in the show here, or if you need help finding Mothaltar's albums, etc., all that's on the show notes page at manifoldministries.com. This is a Manifold Ministries podcast. So if you like this content, please take a look at some of the other content creators on manifoldministries.com. Stick with us. And as always, guys, stand before kings.
This has been a Manifold Ministries podcast. For more content, visit us at manifoldministries.com.